we'll know for the first time if we're evil or divine with a lasting line. Speaking of last in line, here's the last in line of my countdown of my top 10 albums of the year. Now, I did say 10 earlier, but I'm going to bend the rules a little bit because there are no rules, because it doesn't really fucking matter. Because I missed out Idlewild with their amazing album that came out earlier on in the year. So, yeah, Everything Ever Written is the title of the album. I'd probably put that, I guess, at number 10 instead of Iron Maiden. So Iron Maiden, I'm bumping you down to number 11. I'm still keeping you in, but we're doing a top 11 because, like I say, who the fuck cares? But yeah, Idlewild, Everything Ever Written, brilliant Scottish indie rock band that you might have heard of, particularly if you're in the UK. They had some massive success with their album The Remote Part. They've had a few classic albums like 100 Broken Windows and Warnings and Promises. And it's a real roaring comeback album and something that absolutely just blew me away straight away at the start of the year. Just an absolute delightful album. Just going back to just doing what they do best. So massive anthemic songs. They've got heavier moments. They've got beautiful kind of folky moments. And I just absolutely love Idlewild. There was a time when they could have been as big as Coldplay and Elbow and kind of the bigger bands. There's a time when they could have potentially even broke America because they had just astonishing stadium quality kind of rock anthems amongst the more kind of awkward arty stuff. They're like a good Scottish REM if you've not heard them. So Idlewild, I'd recommend checking out Everything Ever Written, but also check out the first album, Hope Is Important, second album, 100 Broken Windows, third album, The Remote Part, which you may recognise some songs on, and Warnings and Promises, at the very least. Check out those albums. Just check out all their work, but those are the best ones. Anyway, I'm going to come in at number 5 with another band that have come roaring out of the traps with a stunning comeback, despite a massive absence, and that is Faith No More. When I found out Faith No More were actually doing new recorded material, I had mixed emotions, because on one hand I thought, well, they probably really should, because they when they reformed back in 2009, they just showed everyone how it's done as a live band. They're such a crazy, erratic kind of band, and so kind of brilliant, and it was just like, oh my god, we have missed this band so much. They're such a breath of fresh air. They don't play by anybody's rules. They do whatever the fuck they want. I saw them when they played their kind of pretty much first major show at the Download Festival in 2009. They opened up with a soul song by Peaches and Herbs, Reunited, on a metal festival. They just do whatever the fuck they want. They came out, in wedding suits and with a red velvet curtain and flowers on stage. You can't really argue with that. So, as a live band, great, but they've really kind of milked the live thing to the point where they really would have become something that they kind of stood against, and it's one of the reasons they didn't reform, because they didn't want to be some kind of tired, trotted out, in it for the money reunion act. And they had to make a studio album, but I was so worried, because with a band with such an impeccable body of work, particularly latter day Faith No More, doesn't really get the love it deserves, but the latter day stuff, the album of the year and King for a Day, were fucking stunning, groundbreaking, amazing albums, which more than their early work, I feel, has laid the template for 21st century rock and how it's done, really. So, there's a lot of bands that owe their careers to particularly those two albums. So, I was concerned that they would tarnish an otherwise impeccable legacy, and I thankfully was completely wrong, because Soul Invictus, the album, is an absolute ripper from back to front. It is just wonderful. It doesn't sound like people trying to recapture youth. It sounds like these people have kind of grown up. They are old, they've got wrinkles, but they're making exactly the music they want. There's bits of Echo and the Bunnymen, there's bits of Killing Joke in there. You've got that crazy Mike Patton kind of aggression, where they just kind of completely freak out. You've got those creepy, uncomfortable moments. You've got the soulful, ballady moments. You've got like really just absolutely uplifting kind of pop songs like Sunny Side Up. And you've just all the way through got that kind of just snarky, cynical sense of humour throughout. This is a band that just completely is in a field of their own, and just to hear them, every single one of them firing on all cylinders, those beautiful, tasteful keyboard parts from Roddy Bottum, the swing and the groove on Mike Borden's drumming, Billy Gold's just amazing kind of bass playing, just absolutely incendiary bass playing, and then John Hudson, really underrated guitar player as well, because he's a much more solid and maybe kind of less interesting choice than Jim Martin, who I think they did try and get back in the band. But I think they need a straight man in there, and he fulfills that role perfectly by just holding everything down, and just letting Mike Patton, who's still just fucking the best singer in the world, you know, in his mid-40s, just letting him just do what he does, which is just put 99.9% of vocalists in any genre of music to fucking shame. So Faith No More, Sol Invictus. Oh, it's so good to hear another band, another kind of old school band coming back and absolutely just showing everybody how it's done, taking everyone to school. So brilliant. At number 4, which maybe will place itself higher, is Avatarium, Girl with a Raven Mask. So you saw my video. I presume you did. You probably didn't, but check it out anyway. My video on Avatarium and the new album, and you know that I loved it, and I'm loving it more and more and more. This is the, I suppose, the classic rock choice out of the ones I've chosen, which really, just really hits the spot. It's just got that brilliant meld of doom metal, 70s rock, with beautiful jazzy vocals, with kind of creepy, proggy atmospherics. Just a great original sounding band, and I've done 2 videos on them now, so check those 2 videos out. But Avatarium, the Girl with the Raven Mask, it could easily be number 1. All these could easily be number 1, really. It doesn't really matter what I fucking think anyway. But I'm just telling you stuff that you should check out. At number 3 is Clutch, with, of course, Psychic Warfare. Again, I kind of, consider placing this higher as well. It's just another brilliant Clutch album, and there's nobody in anywhere near the same league in terms of rock and roll today than what Clutch do. They are head and shoulders above everything, and this album is their fastest, leanest, meanest, and most instant album, I'd say, of their career. And to be whipping out that so far into this 25-year career is got to be commended. And really, they are only just getting the recognition they deserve. And I mean, it's already happening, but this album is going to propel them even higher above the pulpit. They are getting those big magazine features now. They are getting those big tours, and they are a force to be reckoned with. And they're going to be placing a lot higher on festival bills next year. I guarantee that. So Clutch, best rock and roll band in the world. There it is. Now, number 2. Again, it's a real toss-up between these 5, particularly these 2. Number 2 is one that really caught me by surprise, and that's No Devotion, with Permanence. I'm not like massively into. I suppose more got recently into. I'm not massively into certainly kind of synthy stuff necessarily, or post-hardcore and things like that. But this album, and again, it's one that I've reviewed, really kind of got inside my head, and I couldn't stop playing it. And despite the fact that I wanted, to listen to just angry stuff and silly things, I just keep going back to this album because it's just brilliant. It's back to front brilliant. Sonically, it just takes you into a different world, and it's so staggering that music of such epic scope and subtle brilliance comes from musicians that played in what was just like a kind of a pop rock band in Lost Prophets. A lot of those songs, I know they meant a lot to a lot of people. They probably mean completely different things now, but a lot of those songs were just kind of throwaway pop. And to see a band actually show their true influences and actually produce something that's so grand in scale and so emotionally deep. And with Geoff Rickly, you know, if you're going to choose a singer to channel the emotion, channel the angst and the kind of the beauty of what you're doing, then there's very few vocalists in the world that can really hold a candle to Geoff Rickly. So to hear those two forces come together and produce something completely different to what they've done, and produce songwriting of such amazing quality. I mean, the song "Stay" has got to be my probably my single of the year. It's so catchy and so fun, but miserable at the same time. The rest of the album is nowhere near as catchy, but you've got stuff like "Death Rattle" is just an absolute assault of angst and pain and grief from the ashes of Lost Prophets, really. And then I called the song "Burn" in the video that I reviewed, but "Break," the first song, it's actually called "Break," not "Burn." Rory, you idiot. That is a cast iron classic as well, and it's just a majestic album throughout. And again, I mean, if you've not checked it out, please do yourself a favour, check it out. It's not for everybody, but it's really refreshing to be taken off guard and actually to love something so much that you would normally have no real interest in. So I'd say it's more of a joint number one, really. But on to number one, the album that's really blew me away this year, that really kind of knocked me on my arse. How am I doing for time? Great. Is Cattle Decapitation, of course, my very first video with the Anthropocene Extinction. I know I really waxed lyrical on that video, I really gushed about them, but they really produced a wonderful, masterful work of art here. Yes, it's an extreme album, but it's so accessible. The songwriting is just, everything is done with such meticulous, brilliant detail, and it's something that I still listen to, still go back to. Even though I'm not always in the mood to listen to really aggressive, nasty, extreme music, it retains that extreme edge. It never compromises on its attack, but at the same time, it still retains a catchy, structured, compositional approach. And I can't say enough nice things about this band. And like you said, the lyrics are clever. Cattle Decapitation, yeah, it's a ridiculous band name or whatever, but it's done from a position of irony and knowledge. These are kind of people with vegan values. These are people with very strong environmental consciences, and they're making such nasty, extreme, brutal music to convey that message. And, you know, they've, rather than kind of bludgeoning you to death with the actual message, they bludgeon you to death with the music, and it makes you much more on board with that. So, Cattle Decapitation, my album of 2015. I've just heard the new Visions of Disorder album. I'm just listening to it right now, and it's really annoying because I think that would actually chart really highly. But yeah, Cattle Decapitation, Anthropocene Extinction. What a absolute masterpiece. So check that out, and I'm going to be back with some more kind of regular reviews, maybe delve into some classics. But that is my kind of top 10/11 of 2015. And you know, if you think there's something else I should be checking out, if you like what you hear from these videos, if you want me to stop doing ridiculous songs at the start of them, hi Scott, I do this for you, just for you, mate, then let me know and subscribe. But in the meantime, I'll catch you later for some more videos, and keep it real, because we'll know for the first time if we're evil or divine, because we are the last in line. I have my voice then. Bye.